Mission: Impossible movie series started in 1996. Its first movie was Mission: Impossible 1. Tom Cruise is the lead actor in this series who plays a role of Ethan Hunt. Ethan works for an organization called Impossible Missions Force IMF. The first movie of the series runs around a list of CIA undercover agents whose identities are about to be leaked to a group of arms dealers. However, the mission unexpectedly fails after the list is stolen and the team is killed one by one, leaving Ethan Hunt the only survivor. Hunt becomes a rogue agent whose mission is 1. To find out who the mole is in the IMF. 2. To keep the list off the hands of Max, who is an arms dealer. To find out the mole in IMF, Ethan Hunt makes a deal with Max. Hunt is supposed to provide Max the authentic list of CIA agent for $10 million and the identity of the mole. Phillips, a member of IMF team who is thought to have been killed during the mission. Phelps' wife Claire and Hunt recruit 2 disavowed IMF agents for a mission to steal the authentic list. I infiltrate CIA headquarters in Langley. Phelps resurfaces unexpectedly, recounts surviving the shooting, and tells Hunt that Eugene Kittredge, who is the director of IMF, is the mole. On the train, Hunt directs Max to the list and she sends him to the baggage car where the money and job mole are located. Claire goes to the car to collect her share of the money from Phelps, only to realize that he is really Hunt in disguise. When the real Phelps arrives and takes the money at gunpoint, Hunt sends a live video of the confrontation to Kittredge, exposing Phelps as the mole. As Phillips tries to escape through chopper from the train, Hunt blows off the chopper, killing Phillips. At the meantime, Kittredge takes Max into custody and recovers the list. Hunt is reinstated back in the IMF. On the flight home, an attendant approaches him and asks if he is ready to take on a new mission as team leader. This marks the end of the first movie in the series. Mission: Impossible 2. Mission: Impossible 2 movie runs around a bioweapon that Biosite Pharmaceuticals has forced its scientists to produce, so that they can profit from the cure. Dr. Vladimir Nekhorovich, who is an old associate of Ethan, sends a message to IMF for Ethan. He informs Ethan of the Biosite Pharmaceuticals' plan of creating bioweapon virus. He injects himself with the Chimera virus and carries its remedy Bellerophon in a bag. However, IMF agent Sean Ambrose, who was disguised as Ethan, goes rogue, betrays Nekhorovich and steals Bellerophon. IMF director Swanbeck informs Ethan about Ambrose's wrongdoings and tasks him with recovering the virus and its cure. Ethan, to complete his mission, recruits Mia Nordopal. She is Ambrose's ex-girlfriend and a professional thief. She traces Ambrose to Sydney, Australia, where Biosite laboratories are located. Ethan, along with his team, heads to Sydney. Ambrose meets with Biosite's CEO, John McCloy, and blackmails McCloy into cooperating with him by showing him a video of Chimera virus infecting one of Nekhorovich's colleagues. Mia steals the memory card the video is stored on, give it to Ethan. From the video they learn that Chimera has a 20-hour dormant period before symptoms show, and Bellerophon can only save the victim if used within that window. Ethan's team kidnaps McCloy for information and discover that the only Bellerophon samples are now in Ambrose's hands. Ethan plans to break into Biosite headquarters to destroy the virus, but Ambrose, posing as Ethan, tricks Mia into revealing their plan and is one step ahead. Ethan destroys all but one sample of Chimera before Ambrose's team engages him in a firefight. Ambrose orders Mia to retrieve the virus, but she injects herself with it instead and begs Ethan to kill her to destroy the virus. Ethan refuses and promising to get her the cure. Ambrose releases Mia, intending to start a pandemic. He offers to sell Bellerophon to McCloy in exchange for stock options to make him billions. Ethan infiltrates the meeting, starts fighting. However, he is executed by Ambrose. Ambrose discovers that Ethan tricked him by having Stamp disguised as him while he stole the remaining samples of Bellerophon. Enraged, Ambrose and his men give chase after him. Ethan kills Ambrose's men with some help from Luther and beats Ambrose in a brutal fistfight on a beach. With little time left on the 20-hour countdown, Luther reaches Ethan at the beach. Ethan throws the cure to Luther. Luther injects Mia with the Bellerophon just in time. The IMF clears Nia's criminal record and Ethan starts a vacation with her in Sydney. This marks the end of Mission: Impossible 2. Mission: Impossible 3. Ethan Hunt, who retired from IMF fieldwork, has settled with his fiancée, Julia Mead, a nurse, who is unaware of his real job. IMF head of Operation John Musgrave contacts Ethan for a special mission to rescue one of his apprentice, Lindsay Ferris, who was captured by an arms dealer Owen Davian. The team rescues Lindsay in Berlin and recover two laptops. However, an explosive pellet implanted in Lindsay's head goes off, which kills her. IMF team recovers data from laptops which determine Davian will be in Vatican City to obtain a mysterious biological hazard codenamed the Rabbit's Foot. Ethan plans an unofficial mission to capture Davian. The team captures Davian. On their flight back to us, Ethan interrogates Davian. However, their convoy is ambushed by mercenaries who extract Davian. Davian calls Ethan and gives him 48 hours to recover the Rabbit's Foot in exchange for Julia's life. Ethan obtains the Rabbit's Foot and delivers it to Davian, who tranquilizes him and implants in his head a micro-explosive similar to the one that killed Lindsay. After the operation, Ethan sees Davian holding Julia at gunpoint. Despite Ethan asserting that he brought the real Rabbit's Foot, Davian shoots Julia and leaves. Musgrave arrives and reveals himself as the actual IMF traitor. He explains that Julia is still alive, and that Davian disguised his translator as Ethan's wife. Musgrave was working with Davian to obtain the Rabbit's Foot. Ethan knocks Musgrave unconscious, frees himself, and uses Musgrave's phone to obtain Julia's location. Ethan locates Julia but encounters Davian, who arms the explosive in Ethan's head. Ethan fights and kills Davian before freeing Julia. He jury-rigs an impromptu defibrillator to deactivate the explosive, telling Julia to bring him back and teaching her how to shoot a gun. Julia kills a henchman, then Musgrave, who is carrying the Rabbit's Foot, before resuscitating Ethan, who finally explains his IMF career to her. This marked the end of the three. The fourth movie of the series is Mission: Impossible Ghost Protocol. In this movie, Sabine Moreau steals Russian nuclear launch codes to sell it to a man named Cobalt. Ethan Hunt is extracted from a Moscow prison, along with an asset named Bogdan. The team is to infiltrate the Kremlin for information on Cobalt. Cobalt blows the team cover and bombs much of the Kremlin. Jane and Benji escape, but Ethan is arrested by Russian intelligence and is blamed for the bombing. Ethan escapes and meets with the IMF secretary and analyst William Brandt, who is in Moscow. Brandt identifies Cobalt as Kurt Hendricks, a strategist seeking nuclear war between the US and Russia who stole Russian launch control device. Ethan, Brandt, Jane and Benji plan to infiltrate a meeting between Hendricks' associate, Wistrom, and Moreau at the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, where Wistrom will buy the stolen launch codes. The IMF team plans to intercept the codes by faking two meetings. However, they fail to keep the codes in the hands of Wistrom. Ethan is taken by Bogdan to the Fog, an arms dealer, and learns that Hendricks is buying an obsolete Soviet military satellite from Indian media tycoon Raj Nath. In Mumbai, Jane seduces Nath into his bedroom chambers wearing a flirtatious dress, then overpowers him to get the satellite's override code. The team now pursues Hendricks and Wistrom to one of Nath's broadcast stations to stop him from sending the codes via the satellite. Hendricks sends launch orders to a Russian nuclear submarine to fire a missile at San Francisco, and Wistrom sabotages the system. Jane, Brandt, and Benji fight and kill Wistrom and work to repair the station while Ethan pursues Hendricks. Cornered, Hendricks jumps to his death in order to place the launch device out of reach. The team gets the systems online and Ethan successfully retrieves the launch device and disables the missile moments before detonation. Sidorov and his men arrive, only to realize that Ethan was giving him clues to track them and that the IMF was innocent of the Kremlin bombing, and offers Ethan a ride to the hospital. This marked the end of the Mission: Impossible Ghost Protocol. Mission: Impossible for Rogue Nation. Mission: Impossible Rogue Nation movie is about the Syndicate, a secret consortium of rogue field operatives from various intelligence agencies. IMF agent Ethan Hunt intercepts a shipment of nerve gas being moved by the Syndicate that Ethan has been tracking. The Syndicate at an IMF station in London debriefs Ethan, which shows that it has compromised him and the IMF. While being gassed unconscious, he is forced to watch the station operative killed by a blonde man wearing glasses. In Washington, D.C., CIA Director Alan Hunley convinces a Senate committee to transfer IMF into CIA due to the recent destruction caused in Russia. Ex-IMF agents Benji Dunn and William Brandt begin working for the CIA. Ethan awakes and escapes a torture chamber led by ex-Cog Barbie agent Yannick Vinter, known as the Bone Doctor, with the help of a mysterious woman. Hunt, who is a wanted fugitive from the CIA, covertly passes information about the syndicate to Benji. On Benji's arrival in Vienna, Ethan asks him to help track the blonde man who killed the London IMF station operative. Meanwhile, they find the woman who reveals to be undercover Mi-6 agent Ilse Faust and the syndicate agents. Ethan prevents their hit on Australian Chancellor, who is then killed by a car bomb. Ethan and Benji find Faust, who reveals the head of the syndicate, who is a rogue Mi-6 agent Solomon Lane. They then infiltrate a secret guarded facility and retrieve a digital ledger stolen from Lane that purportedly contains the names of syndicate operatives. Faust flees with the data to London and meets her handler, Mi-6 Chief Atlee, who discreetly deletes the data. Benji copied the data retrieved from the facility, and discovers that the data is an encrypted British government virtual red box that requires the PM's biometrics to unlock. Lane's men abduct Benji and use him to blackmail Ethan into decrypting and delivering the data to him. Despite Brandt's protests, Ethan accepts the mission. Brandt secretly reveals their location to Hunley. In Oxford, Hunley, Brandt, and Atlee meet the PM. Atlee reveals himself as Ethan in a mask. He and Brandt secure the PM's biometrics, allowing Stickle to decrypt the file. When the real Atlee arrives, Ethan forces him to admit that he surreptitiously started the syndicate without the PM's knowledge before Lane hijacked it, after which Atlee tried to frame Faust. The file is revealed not to be a list of syndicate operatives, but access to £2.4 billion in numerous accounts. Ethan destroys the data after deducing that Lane plans to fund the syndicate with the money. At the meeting place arranged by Lane, Ethan finds Benji, who is strapped to a bomb alongside Faust. Ethan tells Lane that he has memorized the data and offers himself in exchange for Benji's safety. Lane, who pursues Ethan, is lured into a bulletproof glass cell and gassed unconscious. Having witnessed an IMF success firsthand, Hunley returns to the Senate committee and claims that their previous meeting served as a pretext to help Ethan expose and shut down the syndicate, convincing the committee to restore the IMF. After the meeting, Brandt welcomes Hunley as the new IMF secretary. This marked the end of the mission, Impossible Rouge Nation. Mission: Impossible Fallout. Mission: Impossible Fallout movie is about the remnants of the syndicate after Solomon Lane's capture. The syndicate have reorganized as a terrorist group known as the Apostles, having adopted the terror for hire policy. They are hired by an extremist known as John Lark and are attempting to acquire 3 stolen plutonium cores for him to use in 3 nuclear bombs. Ethan Hunt is to recover the plutonium. During a mission, the Apostles take fellow teammate Luther Stickle hostage. While Ethan saves Stickle, Apostles steal the cores. Meanwhile, the IMF team captures Norwegian nuclear weapons expert Nils Delbrück, whom the CIA believes is building nuclear weapons for Lark. CIA Director Erica Sloan instructs Special Activities Division Agent August Walker to accompany Ethan on a mission to retrieve plutonium. Ethan and Walker infiltrate a Paris nightclub where Lark is supposed to purchase the plutonium from the Apostles, with arms dealer Alana Mitsopoulos acting as a broker. They track a man they suspect to be Lark, and he is killed by Mi-6 agent Ilse Faust. Ethan assumes the identity of Lark and meets with Mitsopoulos, but the meeting is cut short when hitmen attack the meeting. In exchange for the plutonium, Mitsopoulos tasks Ethan with extracting Lane from an armored convoy moving through Paris, and provides one of the cores as a down payment. Ethan and Walker preemptively attack the convoy to prevent Mitsopoulos' men from killing local police. Meanwhile, Dunn and Stickle secure Lane. At a London safe house, IMF Secretary Hunley orders Ethan to stop the mission and turn himself in after receiving doctored evidence implicating Ethan as Lark. The team trick Walker into admitting he is the real Lark and informs Sloan, who sends a CIA SAD unit to take everyone into custody. However, the unit has been infiltrated by the Apostles and is under Walker's command. Walker kills Hunley and Ethan pursues him to Tate Modern, where Walker threatens his ex-wife, Julia, before escaping by helicopter. The team, along with Faust, track Lane and Walker to a medical camp over the Siachen Glacier. Faust deduces that Lane is planning to detonate the nuclear bombs at the medical camp, contaminating the water supply of India, Pakistan, and China, resulting in the destruction of a third of the world's population. The bombs are linked by a failsafe. Any attempt to defuse one bomb without also disarming the detonator will trigger the other. Ethan discovers Julia and her new husband Eric are working at the camp. Lane programs the bomb's detonator with a 15-minute countdown and gives it to Walker. Walker takes off in a helicopter while Dunn, Stickle, and Faust try to find and defuse the nuclear weapons. Julia helps Stickle disarm the first bomb, but they are unable to defuse it without the detonator. Faust finds the second bomb but is ambushed and subdued by Lane. Dunn and Faust eventually overpower him. Ethan hijacks an escort helicopter and manages to ram Walker's out of the sky. The two men fight on the edge of a cliff, which ends when Ethan drops a hook attached to a helicopter on Walker and sends him falling to his death in the crashing helicopter. Ethan secures the detonator, allowing the team to deactivate the bombs. Sloan hands Lane over to Mi-6 through Mitsopolis, earning Faust her exoneration, and praises Ethan for his actions. This marks the end of the mission, Impossible Fallout.